Chapter 1138. Tangguo stood up and took the handkerchief from the servant girl. She wiped her hands and looked up at Yang Hua. "Young Master Yang, I want all of your stones. Name your price. Madam has good taste. Actually, I came here mainly to purchase antiques from Nanshu. Selling stones is also to make friends with a knowledgeable merchant. After all, I'm really unfamiliar with this place. Since Madam recognizes them, I'll sell them to you at a cheaper price." In the end, Yang Hua did name a lower price. It was almost the kind that would not take advantage of others. Tangguo immediately agreed without any hesitation. "Host, this Yang Hua is probably not a merchant. If he does business like this, it won't be long before he closes down. He is indeed not a merchant, but I'm very satisfied with this batch of goods. It's good enough that I can make some profit." System: did the host's money-grubbing hobby come from the last world and hasn't had time to fade? Young Master Yang is so generous. I can't take advantage of him. After Tangguo had the stones taken away, she said to Yang Hua, "In the future, if young Master Yang has any needs or is unfamiliar with anything, just look for the shopkeeper of this shop. Shopkeeper do. As long as young Master Yang is in the Imperial City, you must treat him well. Don't neglect him. Give young Master Yang a discount for all the shops under the residence's name." "Yes, madam." Shopkeeper Du did not feel that there was anything wrong with Tangguo's words. The princess consort had said that the goods were of good quality. There was no doubt about it. Later, he would invite a stone-cutting master to take a look. If he could really extract top-grade jade, even if there were only a few pieces, it would be a huge profit. "It's almost time for lunch. Shopkeeper, arrange for someone to invite young Master Yang to the restaurant." "Young Master Yang, I'm going back to the residence." "Goodbye." Yang Hua hurriedly said, "Madam won't go to the restaurant with this one to eat." It was strange that he felt a little reluctant. It was obviously a little abrupt to say this to a woman who was married, but he still could not help but say it. With that, he was a little annoyed. The good impression he had just now was gone. Tangguo smiled faintly. "I'm afraid that's inconvenient." This one was rude. "Madam, please don't take offense. This one apologizes to Madam. Traveling outside all year round, I don't care about trifles most of the time. Forgetting Madam's identity is indeed my mistake. Then, young Master Yang, I'll take my leave. Take care, Madam." Tangguo left with her maids and manservants. Yang Hua stood there for a long time and did not come back to his senses. He only withdrew his gaze when someone beside him called him in a low voice. Manager Du invited him to a restaurant, and then booked a room for him. He told her that if she needed anything, she could go to the shop to find him. Only then did she leave. Yang Hua sat in the room for a long time without speaking, which made the people around him puzzled. "Master, is there something wrong?" "What's wrong?" Yang Hua asked subconsciously. Then he laughed. "No, nothing's wrong." He just felt that something was wrong with him. His mind was filled with the image of that beautiful lady. This was really too strange. He had never felt anything for women since he was young. How could he have feelings for a woman who was married to a man? He shouldn't. He really shouldn't. There were thousands of jewels in the world that could be robbed, but this married woman was the only one that couldn't be robbed. He couldn't rob, but it didn't mean that he couldn't think about it. It should be okay to think about it, right? Chapter 1139. Yang Hua thought to himself that this was not something that he could not think about just because he did not want to. Hua ran when Enrich. The more he thought about it, the more Yang Hua felt that he was extremely strange. Perhaps he had never seen a woman before, which was why he suddenly could not take his eyes off a beautiful madam. "Master, you're distracted again." Yang Hua could not help but ask, "What do you think is strange about that madam today?" His subordinate did not understand what his master meant by asking this. He did not think too much about it. His master had never liked women since he was young, and he did not think that Yang Hua had any feelings for Tangguo. He only said, "I think that madam is different from ordinary women. From her words, I can tell that she is knowledgeable. From her etiquette, I can tell that she comes from a very cultured family. I can use a few words to describe her. Virtuous, virtuous, and talented. And as beautiful as a flower, Yang Hua said without thinking. Then, he saw his subordinate's messy face. His face almost cracked. Their master actually described a woman as beautiful as a flower. Had their master been replaced by someone else? Yang Hua also reacted. Don't you think that madam is beautiful? Actually, when it came to that face, he was attracted by those eyes. He always felt that those beautiful eyes could see through everything. She is indeed very beautiful. Master, don't tell me you. Yang Hua's subordinate trembled for a moment, but then he felt that it was impossible. No matter how crazy his master was, he would not really have any thoughts about a married woman, right? Even if he had any thoughts, according to their understanding of their master, he would not do such a thing. Their master was a true gentleman. No, I'm just asking. Yang Hua naturally would not tell his subordinates what he was thinking. Of course, he would not do anything just because of this thought. If that madam was not married, he might really do something. Since he was interested, it was fine to marry her. Now, he could only feel regret in his heart. He believed that when he left Nanshu country, all of this would be fleeting. Perhaps it was because that madam was very special. She was beautiful, talented, and knowledgeable that he treated her differently. Host, have you become a money grubber? Wasn't it just a truckload of good stuff? Was it worth being so happy? My energy is skyrocketing. It was so inflated that he felt a little scared. Isn't it good to increase your energy? It was good, but his golden thigh had suddenly become a money grubber. He felt that his host had fallen from the altar. As for being happy, quietly, the smile on his face never disappeared the entire time he was on the sedan chair. When she returned to her room, she even started humming a tune. By the way, host, who is that Yang Hua? He doesn't look like a businessman. Indeed, he's not a businessman. Tang Guo took a sip of the scented tea. His identity is incredible. The system muttered in its heart. It turned its head and flipped through the plot from beginning to end. It still did not see a person like Yang Hua. It felt very strange. Host, can you tell me where he is right now? Could it be that this guy was a small cannon fodder, the kind that died without a name? Or could it be that someone knows what's good for him, but he didn't meet the host and was killed in the end? Has your brain been filled with energy until it's stupid? Dear host, tell me. Tang Guo almost spat out. Was this acting coquettishly? Peak. Chapter 1140. I don't want to talk about it. I think there's a need to improve your observation and imagination. Enacom system. Understood. The host despises me for being blind and stupid. Wait a minute, the host is so happy. Could it be related to this Yang Hua? Thinking of the way Yang Hua looked at its host, the system had an idea. It can't be that guy, right? Thinking of the previous world, that guy was really stingy and calculative to outsiders. He was really a nightmare. The person whom he had met previously had a dignified appearance and was extremely polite. Yet, he had actually apologized for his rude words. Oh my, he's really a modest gentleman. The system shuddered. From a stingy and calculative guy to a modest gentleman, it really couldn't accept it. Could it be that he and the host graduated from the same drama school? It shouldn't be. He doesn't have memories, but the host does. Princess, His Highness has instructed that there's no need to prepare lunch and dinner. He'll stay in the palace today. Understood. At this time, Shangguan Jing, who stayed in the palace, was playing chess with Shangguan Yi. The two were sitting face to face. The beautiful concubine sitting next to Shangguan Yi was the Tang Jiao. The Tang Jiao cupped her face and looked at the chessboard. From time to time, she pulled Shangguan Yi. She was more anxious than him, the emperor. Okay, I'll listen to you. Shangguan Yi turned and smiled at the Tang Jiao. Jiao Fei is the smartest. I'll listen to you. I'll definitely win. Of course. The Tang Jiao smiled back at Shangguan Yi. She glanced at Shangguan Jing, who was hiding below and clenching his fists. She curled her lips in her heart. System, these two men are so scumbags. That's why the host transmigrated into the Tang Jiao's body and helped her change her fate. The Tang Jiao shook her head. Poor little girl. She obviously yearns for freedom, but she was born in this era of male power. She was even chosen by two equally powerful men. How unlucky. The original host's eldest sister is also unlucky. She was a well-bred lady, but her memories were changed just like that. The most despicable thing was that she was given away by Shangguan Yi. Scumbag. They're clearly treating women like goods. I don't think they love the Tang Jiao that much. It's just a battle between the two of them. That's why the host needs to change her fate as soon as possible. Tang Jiao frowned. How can I change? With your help, her memories won't be tampered with. As for Tang Guo, she was born a noble lady. It's impossible to take her out to wander around, right? Actually, it's not possible to escape. The minister's residence will suffer. Host, Tang Jiao's obsession is her elder sister. As long as you can change her sister's fate, the main mission will be completed. The system reminded her. Since these two men are obsessed with you, the host can make use of them. When the Tang Guo was given away, Shangguan Jing didn't bring the Tang Jiao to the banquet so that nothing unexpected would happen. If the Tang Jiao was present, the Tang Guo might not have been sent away. The two sisters are so close that they definitely wouldn't want to see their biological sister being sent away. Do you mean that if I ask, I can save her? Of course. The Tang Jiao nodded. Okay, then I'll be a demoness who can bring disaster to the country and people. First, I'll charm these two men. Maybe, since they're both scumbags, it's not a bad idea to let them kill each other. Jiao Fei, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Shangguan Yi saw that the Tang Jiao was in a daze and suddenly became nervous. Chapter 1141. I'm fine. I was just looking at the game and got lost in it. Tang Jiao hurriedly replied. She even smiled at Shangguan Yi after replying. Shangguan Yi heaved a sigh of relief and held her hand. He said with concern, if you're not feeling well, I'll send you back. The loving scene between the two stung Shangguan Jing's eyes. With a faint smile on his face, he clenched his fists in his sleeves. Especially when Tang Jiao didn't even look at him, it made him feel even worse. The three of them had known each other before. At that time, Jiao didn't care about trifles at all and loved to recite poems with him. Now that she was conferred the title of Consort Jiao by his brother, everything she did became restricted. He hated her well-behaved appearance. The palace walls would only erase the spiritual energy in Jiao. He wouldn't let such a beautiful thing disappear. Jiao loved freedom. One day, he would take her out of the palace walls and she could be the same as before. She could go wherever she wanted and say whatever she wanted. There was no need to be so well-behaved. Prince Jing. Shangguan Yi's voice woke Shangguan Jing up. He hurriedly said, Brother, I'm here. How are you getting along with the princess consort? When he asked this, Shangguan Yi observed Shangguan Jing's and Tang Jiao's expressions. Consort Jiao didn't pay attention to Prince Jing when they were playing chess for a long time. Prince Jing didn't seem to have any thoughts about Consort Jiao either. This made Shangguan Yi feel much better. Even if Shangguan Jing was his younger brother, he didn't like his woman always being thought about by his younger brother. Consort Jiao's personality was lively and quick-witted, which was also what he liked. In this dull palace, fortunately, there was the mischievous Consort Jiao around. Everything became interesting. Very good. Shangguan Jing replied with a normal expression. Wasn't it very good? That woman was well-behaved and didn't overstep at all. No one could find fault with her at all. He had to admit that such a woman was indeed a good steward. Unfortunately, he did not need her. I heard that ever since the princess consort entered the imperial residence, the entire imperial residence of King Jing has changed drastically. Even the shops under King Jing's name have become brand new. Their income has increased by several times compared to before. Shangguan Yi said happily. He felt that he had made a good move. Tang Guo and Tang Jiao were twins and looked exactly the same. He had his eyes on the Tang Jiao, and so had King Jing. When he made Tang Jiao his consort, it was inevitable that King Jing would feel uncomfortable. He thought about how Tang Jiao's twin sister looked just like her, so he decided to betroth Tang Guo to King Jing as his consort. This was the best of both worlds. Now, according to the news from various sources, this luminescent consort was not bad at all. Not only would he be able to take care of the trifling matters in the mansion, he would also be able to come up with some new ideas to increase the income of the mansion. This was a good woman that other families could only dream of having. The little bit of guilt in his heart disappeared. With such a good consort, King Jing would probably forget about his special liking for consort Jiao, right? Yes, there is such a thing. Then King Jing is really lucky. Even I am a little envious. Shangguan Yi said casually. He thought that Shangguan Jing would be satisfied with this matter. Shangguan Jing lowered his head and pursed his lips. He almost blurted out, "If you are envious, why didn't you take Tang Guo as your consort? Why did you give him Tang Jiao instead?" Of course, he wanted to say this out loud, but he didn't dare to. He could only say nothing and respond with silence. Peak. Chapter 1142. Shangguan Yi was the emperor, so he couldn't fight against him for the time being. Huaran, Enacom, if the other party knew that he hadn't given up, it wouldn't be so easy to snatch Jiao back. When the Tang Jiao heard the news about Tang Guo, she felt a little restless. She had originally planned to meet this older sister and give her a warning or something. But from her memory, she knew that this was a very traditional noble lady, so she didn't know if she could make things clear when she met her. She also couldn't reveal her identity. If the people here found out, they would treat her as a demon and burn her. Fortunately, the Tang Jiao's personality was quite lively, and she had already traveled through 2 worlds, so she had some experience. But this was the ancient imperial society, the kind where people would die at the slightest provocation. Usually, when she exchanged things from the system store, she would try to choose things that were similar to this era, for fear of being exposed. "Jiao Fei, Jin sees that you have something to say?" Shangguan Yi noticed the Tang Jiao's somewhat expectant expression and thought for a moment. Just now, he seemed to have mentioned Tang Guo. He heard that the relationship between these 2 sisters had always been good, so Jiao Fei must be missing her biological sister, right? Sure enough, he heard the Tang Jiao say, "Your Majesty, this concubine hasn't seen my older sister for half a year. When I heard the news about my older sister just now, my heart missed her very much." After saying this, she looked pitifully at Shangguan Yi. Since she wanted to be a seductress who bewitched the 2 brothers, she had to practice first. To be honest, she really hadn't been a seductress or anything like that. First, she didn't have such external conditions. Second, her 3 views were still relatively upright, and she didn't like to have a foot in 2 boats. But when it came to these 2 brothers, she could disregard her 3 views. These 2 were scum through and through. Shangguan Jing was selfish, while Shangguan Yi was cold and heartless. "So it's because you miss your older sister," Shangguan Yi thought for a moment and said, "You've been in the palace for half a year, are you bored to death?" Thinking of the lively and active Tang Jiao, it was indeed difficult for her to be cooped up in the palace all this time. Tang Jiao nodded and her eyes brightened. She grabbed Shangguan Yi's sleeve and said, "Yes, Your Majesty, this concubine has been bored to death for the past 6 months." Seeing that the Tang Jiao's temper had suddenly flared up, Shangguan Yi's mood improved a lot. "How about this? Tomorrow, I will take you out of the palace to play and visit Consort Jing at Prince Jing's mansion. How about that?" "Thank you, Your Majesty." Tang Jiao was very happy. Sure enough, women who acted coquettishly had the best life. Even if Shangguan Yi was the emperor, he would still fall for this trick. Of course, if this person didn't treat her like a pet and tease her, she wouldn't be so hateful. Last month, when she transmigrated, she had seen through Shangguan Yi. He was only interested in the Tang Jiao because she was different from the other women in the palace. Once he assimilated with the Tang Jiao, he wouldn't necessarily have deep feelings for her. If he was happy, he would constantly reward her. If he was unhappy, he would also lose his temper. If she competed with the other concubines for favor, he would probably look at her with a very disappointed expression. Most likely, he would even say, "Consort Jiao, I think you've changed. I thought you were different from the other women, but I didn't expect." Tang Jiao chuckled. Usually, when it was like this, She would want to scold him. Fuck you, you changed, fuck you didn't expect it. In short, Shangguan Yi was a person who didn't have feelings at all. Later on, he was so obsessed with the Tang Jiao because someone was fighting with him, the emperor. As the emperor, how could he tolerate it? The peak. Chapter 1143. He thought that Tang Jiao was his and no one could take her away from him. Huranwen, the easier it was to lose something, the more precious it would be. Shangguan Jing, on the other hand, was unwilling to give up because he didn't get what he wanted. As the saying goes, what you can't get is always in turmoil. My brother will bring concubine Jiao to our mansion tomorrow. Shangguan Jing was both happy and nervous when he heard that Tang Jiao would come to Prince Jing's mansion, regardless of the reason. He had planned to rest in the palace, but after hearing the news, he and Shangguan Yi found an excuse to come back to accompany his wife and planned to decorate the mansion overnight. Your Highness, my brother and concubine Jiao are both honorable people. It's still early, so you can arrange everything in the mansion. Change all the things that can be changed to good and new ones. The old ones, the ones that don't look good, the ones that don't look good, change them all for this prince. Understood, Your Highness, Tangguo replied, but she was thinking that Shangguan Yi and Tang Jiao would come to the mansion tomorrow. There was no such thing in the plot. In the plot, the two sisters met 1 year after they got married, which was the time when they changed their memories. Could it be that something went wrong? She didn't change anything related to the plot for the time being, but she couldn't think of a reason. She would see Tang Jiao tomorrow first. Okay, you can go and make the arrangements. Shangguan Jing couldn't stop smiling. Concubine Jiao is your sister, so you should know what she likes, right? You can arrange whatever she likes. Don't be calculative about the money. With that, he left quickly. He looked so excited that it was as if he was afraid that no one could tell what he was thinking. Page, just look at him. Isn't the money earned by our host? Idiot. Tang Guo. Since when did this bucket of hers learn how to swear? The sun has set and it's going to be dark soon. This idiot is so annoying. The system muttered a round of curses. Tang Guo had already gathered everyone in the mansion. He repeated what Shangguan Jing had instructed him to do. Then, she ordered the servants to start moving. She said, "Let's go to His Highness last. I saw that His Highness seemed to have something on just now. Don't disturb him." "Yes, Your Highness." The servant didn't think that there was anything wrong with Wang Fei's words. She couldn't just go to Wang Yi's courtyard from the start. Moreover, the princess consort had said that the prince was busy now. It was not good for them to disturb him. Moreover, the emperor and consort Jiao would not pay too much attention to the princess consort's courtyard. On the other hand, since the princess consort and imperial concubine Jiao were biological sisters, the princess consort should be properly decorated. Someone suggested this to Tang Guo. Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled. That's right. My relationship with my younger sister has always been very good. If she comes to the Fu, the first thing she will do is come to my place. Then you can start from my courtyard. His Highness said that we should change everything that's old, ugly, or uncomfortable to look at. Imperial concubine Jiao is a noble person. You can't mistreat her. So, you can decorate as you see fit. There's no need to save money. After receiving the order, the servants took the cleaning tools and went to clean the courtyard. Some of them followed the butler to the storeroom to pick out exquisite ornaments. Some of them had to go out of the Fu to purchase goods. If the Prince Jing's mansion wanted to purchase goods, who would dare to not open the door? It was a piece of cake for them to do these things. Peak. Chapter 1144. With Shangguan Jing's instructions, Tang Guo changed all the things in her courtyard. All the decorations were selected from the storeroom and they were all exquisite, precious, and rare. Even the steward didn't think much of it. The steward knew better than anyone else. Judging from the prince's instructions, he knew that the prince hadn't forgotten about consort Jiao. He also saw that his princess consort had put in a lot of effort to welcome the emperor and consort Jiao. How could he know that the prince valued it so much just because of consort Jiao? He felt sorry for this kind-hearted and kind princess consort. Therefore, when choosing the things, he chose the best ones. Anyway, the prince had said that he had to take out all the good things for consort Jiao. Now that these things were in the princess consort's courtyard, they would belong to her in the future. It could be considered as compensation for her. If it were him, he wouldn't bear to let such a good princess consort suffer. It was a pity that their prince's heart wasn't here. Tang Guo looked at the brand new courtyard, the rare and precious decorations, and a particularly good tea set. She was in a good mood. System. Was this the legendary abuse of power for personal gain? His princess consort was really taking advantage of it. My courtyard should be almost done. You can go somewhere else. By the way, I saw that the prince is still in the study. Don't disturb him. Go to the prince's room after the other places in the mansion are cleaned up. Yes, Your Highness. The servants quickly got to work. They changed all the unwanted, ugly, and old things. Even the flowers and grass in the garden, which stuck out and blocked the way, were cleaned up with lanterns. Those that couldn't be cleaned up were trimmed. The huge Wangfu had to be cleaned and replaced. The servants were busy from the time the sun set until the middle of the night. Tang Guo had already slept for a while. It was the system that reminded her that the servants had cleaned up the other places. She quickly got up. When the servants came in, they saw her leaning on the table with her forehead propped up, looking very tired. Especially the steward. When he saw the Wang Fei working hard until midnight, he couldn't help but sigh. His Wang Ye was really in the wrong this time. In any case, Wang Fei was from the minister's manor. Just because of one sentence from him, she was tired until midnight. If Wang Fei knew Wang Ye's real purpose, she would be very sad. Butler. Tang Guo raised her head and asked, "Have you finished changing them?" "Reporting to Your Highness, except for His Highness's courtyard, all the other places have been replaced." Tang Guo nodded. "Thank you for your hard work. Let's go to His Highness now." "Let's go now." The steward said, "Your Highness, you must be tired today. You should rest early. I'll keep an eye on His Highness." "That's good." The steward is very familiar with His Highness's courtyard and has always been by His Highness's side. He will definitely arrange everything well. Tang Guo said with an expression of "I trust you very much," which moved the steward. Wang Fei was a good person. She would never look down on the servants because of her status. She didn't know when Prince Yu would be able to see how good Princess Yu was. Thinking of the torment in the middle of the night, he sighed. It would be difficult. The steward led the servants to Shangguan Jing's courtyard. Tang Guo buried her head and laughed silently. She didn't know how Shangguan Jing would feel when he was woken up from his sleep. If she was woken up in the middle of the night, she would be very angry. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1145. This was the best time to have a good dream and sleep. As for her, she was going to wash up and sleep now. As for whether Shangguan Jing would be unhappy, it was not something she could control. If he was unhappy, she would be happier. System. He knew that there must be something fishy. "What are you all doing here?" Shangguan Jing opened the door impatiently and saw the servants of the prince's mansion in the yard, carrying all kinds of tools. He was very unhappy. Just now in his dream, he was dreaming that he was with Jiao. "Your Highness, didn't you order us to change everything in the prince's mansion?" The steward said eagerly, "Your Highness has been in the study. The princess consort said not to disturb you, so we cleaned the other places and changed the things. Now all the places in the prince's mansion have been cleaned, except for Your Highness's." The servants were innocent. They were all ordered by the prince. They also thought that His Highness, like Her Highness, would wait for the mansion to be cleaned up before resting. After all, the prince was very careful when he gave these orders. Moreover, the light in the prince's room was on. They didn't expect that he would be asleep. "Your Highness, is it easy to clean here?" The princess consort said that Your Highness attaches great importance to the arrival of His Majesty and consort Jiao tomorrow. He didn't dare to be negligent and stayed by our side to clean until midnight. He just went to rest. The steward continued. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart, His Highness is so good. He gave all the orders and went to sleep. It was only because Wang Fei had an honest personality that she listened to Wang Yi in everything and did not complain at all. Shangguan Jing wouldn't come out. Yes, this was all arranged by him. Hearing that Tang Guo had waited for half the night and just went to sleep, he couldn't be angry because he was woken up, right? Servants were also people. If he was really angry, he would probably mutter something in his heart. Okay, you can clean. Shangguan Jing frowned and waved his hand. He turned and put on his clothes, planning to sit and wait. The steward said in a low voice, "Your Highness, I'm afraid it can't be done in such a short time. Why don't you go to the princess consort's place first?" Seeing Shangguan Jing's face darken, he continued, "There are other empty rooms in the princess consort's courtyard." No. Shangguan Jing refused. "As you said, the princess has just rested. How can we disturb her? You guys go and prepare the study room first. This prince will go to the study room later." "Yes, Your Highness." The steward also knew that it was impossible for the prince to go to the princess consort's place. His entire heart was with concubine Jiao. The servants quickly cleaned the study and Shangguan Jing went in. At this time, being woken up, he couldn't fall asleep. He planned to lean against the soft couch and read a book, but he didn't expect the commotion outside to be so great that he couldn't calm down at all. Helplessly, he planned to practice his calligraphy again, but he was still disturbed. In the end, he decided that it was better to sleep. He had been practicing martial arts since he was young, so his ears and eyes were sharp. Even when he was lying on the soft couch, he could still hear the whispers of the servants. It wasn't until dawn that his courtyard was finally finished. The steward knocked on the door. "Your Highness, it's all done." Shangguan Jing was dozing off because he was a little sleepy. When he was woken up, he almost cursed angrily. When he thought of the return of the Tang Jiao today, he became energetic. "This prince knows. You guys have worked hard all night. You can all leave." Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1146. The steward wanted to ask if the servants should be rewarded for their hard work all night. However, Shangguan Jing quickly returned to his room and was picking out the robes he was going to wear today. He shook his head and decided to look for the princess consort. "Since you've worked hard all night, I'll double your salary this month," Tang Guo said to the steward. "His Highness attaches great importance to these matters, so I can only trouble you. There's nothing else for now, so you can go and take a nap. I'll send the maids to keep watch outside the palace gates. We'll have news when His Majesty and consort Jiao come out." The tired and sleepy servants were immediately moved to tears when they heard Tang Guo's words. They felt that their hard work last night was not in vain. The princess consort was the best. She treated them like humans. "Thank you, princess consort." King Jing's residence suddenly quieted down. Tang Guo had a good night's sleep and was very energetic. She was in a very good mood when she saw that the furnishings in the room had been changed. The curtains and other things had been changed to new colors. "Host, that Shangguan Jing didn't sleep well the whole night. He's in the room picking out the robes he wants to wear. When he looks at himself in the mirror, he really looks like a peacock. Host, he changed into a moon-white robe. He even held a folding fan and stood in front of the mirror for a long time." As Tang Guo listened to the system's chatter, she couldn't help but ask, "Tongzi, have you been pierced by another bucket? How is that possible?" "Great host, I'm still the same bucket. I haven't changed. I just can't stand a selfish scumbag like Shangguan Jing." Tang Guo nodded thoughtfully. The system spoke again. "Host, Shangguan Jing seems to be very sleepy. He's about to take a nap. Then I'll send him some breakfast. He hasn't eaten yet." Tang Guo stood up and smoothed out the creases on her robes. She said seriously, "As King Jing's princess consort, I should consider his health and take care of him at all times." System, so bad. So bad. Just as Shangguan Jing fell asleep with his head resting on his hands, he vaguely heard footsteps. He opened his eyes abruptly and saw Tang Guo smiling at him. He frowned. "Princess consort, why are you here? The servants have been busy the whole night. Since His Majesty is coming to the residence, I'm afraid that they won't be able to serve you well, so I told them to rest first. So, this concubine prepared this breakfast for Your Highness. Your Highness, breakfast is very important. Shangguan Jing was unhappy, but when he saw those cute little snacks, he thought that they should taste good. Although he was very tired, he felt the princess consort. Princess consort, Your Highness. To you to rest. The emperor is coming. Since Wang Ye values it so much, how could this concubine dare to rest? Shangguan Jing was too lazy to say anything. He picked up the snack and took a bite. The taste is not bad. He was in a better mood, but he was still a little sleepy. Actually, I miss you very much too. When he heard Tang Guo mention Tang Jiao, Shangguan Jing didn't want to chase her away and decided to take a nap. I heard that you and consort Jiao have a very good relationship. Yes, they've always been very good. Shangguan Jing's eyes flashed. Since that's the case, why don't you go to the palace to visit consort Jiao? Your sisters. As long as you want to go, my imperial brother and I won't stop you. Thank you, Your Highness. Consort Jiao is very active and likes to go out to play. Shangguan Jing felt that his words were too obvious and quickly corrected himself. It was my imperial brother who said so. Fupin Chinese The Peak. Chapter 1147. According to my brother's character, if concubine Jiao wants to go out of the palace, he will definitely allow it. After you meet concubine Jiao today, you can invite her to visit Prince Jing's mansion often. You're right, Your Highness. I also want to say the same to my sister. I can't bear to see her every time for a year and a half. Shangguan Jing was delighted. If Tang Guo invited Jiao to visit Prince Jing's mansion to reminisce about old times, he would be able to see Jiao often. With his brother's love for Jiao, he would definitely allow it. As long as he showed that he did not care about Jiao, his brother would not suspect anything. He did not intend to alert the enemy before he achieved his goal. His brother was not a fool. If he showed even a little bit of affection, he might not be able to see Jiao in this lifetime. I know that you and concubine Jiao are very close sisters. When concubine Jiao comes to visit, you just have to treat her well. Thank you, Your Highness. Tang Guo thanked him gratefully. She glanced at the excited Shangguan Jing from the corner of her eye and sneered in her heart. That was a good plan. Shangguan Jing had forgotten to catch up on sleep because he was chatting with Tang Guo about the Tang Jiao. As they chatted, they talked about the time when Shangguan Yi and Tang Jiao would arrive at Prince Jing's mansion. Tang Guo laughed in her heart and asked Shangguan Jing, who had only slept for less than 8 hours, if he was sleepy. This time, Shangguan Yi did not bring many people with him when he came out with Tang Jiao. He only brought a few attendants who were skilled in martial arts. They sat in a very low-key carriage and quietly arrived at the gate of Prince Jing's mansion. Tang Jiao was helped out of the carriage. When she raised her head, she saw the dignified and beautiful woman standing beside Shangguan Jing. That woman's face was exactly the same as hers. Looking at her, Lin Mengya felt as if she was looking at another version of herself. Tang Guo maintained a faint smile on her face and followed Shangguan Jing's salute. She was always so well behaved. Tang Jiao quickly reacted and hurriedly maintained her persona. She happily threw away Shangguan Yi's hand and ran to Tang Guo's side. She intimately held her hand and called out, "Sister." Tang Jiao felt bitter in her heart. This kind of persona could really collapse if she was not careful. Millimeter, Tang Guo replied softly. Maintaining her image was a piece of cake for her. A strange look flashed across her eyes. This Tang Jiao doesn't seem right. Looks like consort Jiao really wants to see luminescent princess. Since that's the case, luminescent princess, I'll let you take care of consort Jiao. Of course, Shangguan Yi would not let Shangguan Jing and consort Jiao get too close. When he said this, he subconsciously looked at the other party. When he saw that Shangguan Jing was completely unmoved, he even said to Tang Guo with a look of approval, "The princess also told me that she misses consort Jiao a lot. Princess, please take good care of consort Jiao." Shangguan Yi nodded inwardly. It looked like his younger brother's feelings had indeed been subdued by this princess. It was not strange for him to think that Shangguan Jing would be moved by such a good woman. This time, he came to luminescent Prince Jing's mansion to fulfill Consort Jiao's wish. Secondly, he wanted to test luminescent Prince Jing and see if he had given up on Consort Jiao. Since Consort Jiao was already his woman, he definitely would not allow anyone else to covet her. This person was his twin brother. Tang Jiao followed them to Tang Guo's courtyard. Along the way, she observed this noble lady and sighed to the system. As expected of a true noble lady from ancient times. System, it's lucky that I've transmigrated into Tang Jiao's body. If I were to transmigrate into Tang Guo's body, I'd better die. If that really happened, I'd have to pretend to have lost my memory. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1148. Host, you'll get used to it. After you transmigrate to a few more worlds and learn more skills, you'll be able to dress up like a lady from a respectable family in the future. Yes, I'll work hard. Tang Guo, system, both of them had the same thought at the same time. So, the Tang Jiao had been transmigrated? Tang Guo maintained her composure. She wasn't surprised at all. The system was a little excited. It had met another system. He missed the crooked system from last time. The feeling of swallowing it in one gulp was really too good. He hoped that he would meet another crooked system this time. Then, he could swallow it again. Don't think about it. This one doesn't look bad. If the Tang Jiao was really bad, the plot would have changed long ago. Alright, I'm just thinking about it. However, host, we've met this kind of mission enforcer again. What should we do? Should we tie up that system and ask what's going on? No need to rush. They should still be communicating. Let's confirm their purpose first. If it doesn't conflict with me, then let's play along. Tang Guo chuckled. If she doesn't have any ill intentions, then I'll create a local reincarnated person. System, alright. Finally, they reached Tang Guo's courtyard. The two sisters were still holding hands. Tang Jiao chatted with Tang Guo while complaining to her system. On the other hand, Tang Guo knew the other party's purpose. So she's here to help the Tang Jiao complete her obsession. Tang Guo communicated with the system. This obsession is actually to change my fate. So, she's good. The system said regretfully. Tang Guo said affirmatively, of course she's good. When you didn't hear her talk, she was always reminding me not to be too close to one person. She even said something about knowing a person for a long time without understanding his true nature. Isn't she just reminding me to be careful of two scumbags? Her conversation with the system couldn't be heard because this system of hers had been upgrading too quickly over the years. Normal systems wouldn't be able to sense the existence of this little system at all. So, host, I can't swallow systems anymore? The system asked reluctantly. Why do you have to swallow me? Isn't it good to make friends? I don't want to be friends with such a low-level system. That would lower my status. Tang Guo, when they entered the room, Tang Guo glanced at Tang Jiao, who was going crazy. She raised her head and said to the servants, you can all leave. I want to have a private talk with my sister. The maidservants had all left. With the system monitoring her, she would be the first to know if anyone came. Even without the system, with her powerful soul, she could still sense it. Sis, you must remember what I said. Tang Jiao really did not know how to express herself. She was afraid that this local girl from a big family would not understand. Be good to yourself. Don't be so loyal to others. Some people are not necessarily as good as they seem. Just when Tang Jiao was distressed, Tang Guo shook off Tang Jiao's hand and said coldly, who are you? Jiao Jiao wouldn't tell me these things. At that moment, Tang Jiao was dumbfounded. This. What's going on? System, 3 twos. What's going on? Tang Jiao's eyes widened. Could it be that my persona has been destroyed? I. What should I do? This girl from a big family is too smart. I don't think I revealed anything strange, right? How could her persona have been destroyed? 222 system. Host, I suggest that you talk to her again. I feel that she doesn't have any bad intentions. Fupin Chinese Pinnacle. Chapter 1149. Then. I'll try. Sister, I'm Jiao Jiao. I'm really Jiao Jiao. Tang Jiao wanted to cry. She didn't expose herself in front of Shangguan Jing or Shangguan Yi, but she was actually suspected in front of her own sister. Actually, it was true. The two sisters grew up together, so it was possible for them to be suspected. Tang Gua narrowed her eyes. You're really Jiao Jiao? Then I'll ask you some questions. As long as you can answer them, I'll believe you. Sister, ask away. I'm really your sister, your biological sister. She was really her biological sister. Other than Xin everything about her was real. She wasn't willing to expose her identity. The mission system had clearly stated that she couldn't expose her identity and let the locals know the truth. Her mission was to complete Tang Jiao's obsession, save Tang Guo, pull her out of the fire and water, change her fate, and let her live a happy life. This happiness would definitely include her biological sister. If she knew that her biological sister was a fake sister, this happiness would probably be reduced. Tang Jiao had also said that she wanted her to live a good life for her. Now, she was Tang Jiao, and Tang Jiao was her. So, she was really her biological sister. Tang Jiao said to 222, 3 twos. If there's any question that I haven't memorized, I'll rely on you. The two sisters were together every day when they were young. Although she had seriously memorized the plot in order to complete the mission, it was inevitable that she would overlook some questions. No problem. As long as it's in the memories of the two sisters, I'll know. Tang Jiao heaved a sigh of relief. Then, Tang Guo asked 4 or 5 questions in a row. Tang Jiao put in a lot of effort and with 222's help, she answered all of them. Then, she realized that Tang Guo's gaze was getting gentler and gentler, and at the same time, there was some vicissitudes of life. No matter how she looked at it, it was a little strange. She was clearly only 18 years old, so why did she look so sad? Then, her hand was held, and she heard Tang Guo ask in a low voice, Jiao Jiao, you've been reborn too, right? System, Arth, why is the host's acting so exquisite? Even I was almost fooled. Nani? Tang Jiao? 3 twos, what does she mean? Host, she should have been reborn. That's why she felt that something was wrong with you and became suspicious. Now that you've answered her childhood question, she's sure that you've been reborn. But your personality is a little different, so she thought that you were reborn too. Tang Jiao heaved a huge sigh of relief. So, she thinks I'm a reincarnated person? Yes, host, this is also good. She is actually a smart person. After experiencing life and death, I don't think she will repeat the same mistakes. Host, in my opinion, you should go along with what she said about being reborn. You want to take revenge and change the fate of you two sisters. You don't want to be played by men. That's right. Sisters working together can cut through gold. Alright, from now on, I'm a reincarnated person. Tang Jiao felt relieved and felt that this was not bad. Now that Tang Guo had been reborn, it would actually be easier for her to complete the mission. At least, she would not have to be restrained when dealing with those two scumbags. After thinking it through, Tang Jiao's eyes were brimming with tears. Sister, you've been reborn too? She hurriedly threw herself into Tang Guo's arms. Sister, I finally see you again. I was really useless in my previous life. If I had woken up earlier, I wouldn't have let you suffer so much. The Peak. Chapter 1150. Tang Jiao was really crying. Before every mission, she would meet the spirit that gave her the mission. She had seen Tang Jiao's spirit before. She saw all of Tang Jiao's memories through Tang Jiao's spirit. It was like a movie playing in front of her eyes. Tang Jiao was originally a lively and cheerful girl, but she was full of guilt. At this moment, she instantly took on the role of Tang Jiao. System. He felt that Tang Jiao was also a drama graduate. She was most likely from the same school as his host. Tang Guo took the opportunity to hug Tang Jiao. She patted Tang Jiao's back and said softly, "It's good that you're back." System. So, what was this? He still had to meet the 3 twos, right? From the sound of it, the 3 twos should be a little shorter. He wanted to laugh. This little shorter was really unlucky. His serial number was actually 222. However, he soon stopped laughing. No matter what, he still had a serial number. Even if he was a twos, he didn't even have a serial number. When he still had his memories, he thought that he was the only system in this world. "Sis, when did you come back?" "I came back last month. I've always wanted to see you, but I was afraid that people would suspect me." Tang Jiao was almost done crying. Actually, she felt a little embarrassed. This feeling of substitution was too strong. It was too hurtful for her body. Look at her sister. She was calm and collected. Other than the slight change in her eyes, she was really not afraid of anything. Once she was enlightened, those 2 scumbags would have a hard time. On the night of the wedding, Tang Guo's lips curled into a mocking smile. She vividly portrayed the expression of a woman who had experienced betrayal, abandonment, and life and death. "I was also thinking about what to do to get you and me out of this fire and water." Tang Jiao sighed. "One of them is the emperor, and the other is King Jing. Sis, we have to be careful." Thinking about the wedding in 2 months, she became nervous. "Sis, after I was reborn, I had a fortuitous encounter. I have a way to avoid having my memories tampered with." Tang Guo glanced at Tang Jiao and asked, "Really? If that's the case, things will be much easier." "Of course it's true. I just didn't know how to tell you this before. I was afraid that you wouldn't believe me. After all, reincarnation is really too bizarre. I tried my best to maintain my original appearance. I was afraid that people would mistake me for a monster and burn me." Tang Jiao said pitifully. "It was true. Who said that the ancients were stupid? They were very smart." This was especially true for people like the emperor and the princes. If she revealed even the slightest bit of difference, the other party would suspect her several times, thinking that she had some ulterior motives. If they knew that she was not the real Tang Jiao, these two would probably turn hostile and skin her alive. "As long as I can avoid having my memories tampered with, I have a way to get out of this," Tang Guo said. "Actually, I also had a fortuitous encounter that complemented Jiao Jiao." Tang Jiao did not ask about Tang Guo's fortuitous encounter, and Tang Guo did not ask about Tang Jiao's fortuitous encounter either. It was as if they had tacitly agreed not to ask about these things. They were clearly 2 transmigrators, but for the same purpose, they actually pretended to be reborn. "Sis, you've always had a lot of ideas since you were young. You've always been smarter than me. Since you're back, I'll listen to you." Tang Jiao spoke according to her memory of the way Tang Jiao and Tang Guo spoke. In the original plot, it was indeed like this. Tang Jiao's 4 arts were all taught by Tang Guo. Fupin Chinese Pinnacle. Chapter 1151. In fact, Tang Jiao couldn't sit still. She didn't like to sit down and listen to the teacher's lectures. However, Tang Guo was different. She was a lady from a respectable family and had been quiet since she was young. She learned everything she heard, and when she was free at night, she would ask Tang Jiao to learn from her. As for Tang Jiao, she was smart and listened to her sister. Therefore, even if she didn't listen to the teacher's lectures, she could still learn a lot. They had been together like this since they were young. Would Tang Jiao forget that they had hurt her sister just because of 2 men? That was why she was so obsessed with finding the mission enforcer. She paid a huge price in exchange for the mission enforcer's arrival and changed the fate of the most important person in her life so that she could live a happy life. Moreover, Tang Jiao believed that if she hadn't run around, she wouldn't have met Shangguan Yi and Shangguan Jing. Her sister wouldn't have been hurt, and she might even have been able to find a good man and live a happy life. 1 ton and 1 ti. It was precisely because she was too jumpy that she ended up implicating her own sister in the family. When they met those 2 heartless and unscrupulous things, how could they resist? Tang Guo touched Tang Jiao's head lovingly and chuckled. "Okay, you like freedom. I'll help you realize your wish. Tang Jiao felt a little jealous. It was so good to have such a considerate sister. If she had such a good sister, she wouldn't be willing to accept her fate. Sister, what should we do next? Tang Guo thought for a while and said, let's use our original memories and let them change our memories. Of course, this time, our memories won't be changed. Okay, I think so too. Tang Jiao nodded, thinking that it was a good idea. And then, Tang Guo narrowed her eyes. Don't they all like lively and cute girls like Jiao Jiao? Tang Jiao blushed. It was the first time she had been praised and she felt a little embarrassed. Jiao Jiao, can we sacrifice ourselves this time? Tang Jiao's interest was piqued. Sis, how should we sacrifice? She had a feeling that things would become very interesting. She knew from the plot that this lady was not a fool. However, there was no need for that. He had always followed the rules. Now that his mind was clear, it should be said that he had turned a little dark. She really liked this kind of character setting. She used to love it very much. It was the kind of character who was originally very kind, honest, and silently giving, but was betrayed, and in the end, turned evil and slapped in the face. Jiao Jiao will act as a lively fairy who is otherworldly and doesn't know the hardships of the people. She only knows how to recite poems and couplets and lives in men's minds. Once they encounter the cruel reality of life, they will realize why the fairy in their dreams is called the fairy in their dreams. It is because she can only live in dreams. Tang Jiao already had some understanding, but she was still a little off. Sis, can you explain more? I don't really understand. Then let me give you an example. The story of the scholar and the young lady. The scholar came from an ordinary family. The young lady had a noble status and was pampered as she grew up. She liked poetry and was not interested in worldly things and did not know the hardships of the people. The scholar's family chose a down-to-earth, virtuous wife for him, who was suitable for his status. However, he loved this young lady who had the same interests as him. He did not care about his family and insisted on being with her. As for the young lady, she also had a fiancé who was suitable for her status. However, in order to be with the scholar, she cut off all contact with her family. In the end, she successfully married into the scholar's family and the two of them lived the same life as before. The peak. Chapter 1152. In the first month, they were in love. Their daily lives were pretty much the same as before. Although the food was a little rough, the daughter believed that she and the scholar were truly in love and did not care about these things. In the second month, the daughter and the scholar were still trying their best to maintain their life, but it was already a little different. In the following period, the trifles of life, habits, and living environment all created problems for them. The daughter was indeed the daughter. After all, she was used to a life of luxury. How could she get used to such a simple life? Wearing coarse clothes and reciting poems, there was something wrong with him. The scholar's family complained that the daughter did not know how to live and got into a conflict with the daughter. Over time, the scholar realized that the daughter only knew how to recite poems and spend money. Other than that, he could not see any other good points about her. Compared to the wives of his other friends, he suddenly felt that his wife was too extravagant and wasteful. She did not have the ability to take care of the family. Tang Jiao's eyes lit up. Sister, I understand what you mean. Before she came, she had asked the three idiots to help her check on the affairs of King Jing's mansion. King Jing's mansion had been well managed by Tang Guo. Now that she knew that Tang Guo had been reborn, but she was still obediently being a princess. Something was not right. Now that she thought about it, her sister wanted to take revenge on these two men. She was holding back a big move. Now, both of them think that I'm the best. Tang Jiao sneered. Shangguan Jing only thinks that I'm good because he can't have me. Shangguan Yi only thinks that I'm different from other women. Shangguan Jing once had a crush on me. Once I'm pulled down from my pedestal and become a commoner, they won't think much of it. Tang Guo nodded. Jiao Jiao is still as smart as before. System, host, don't you have a conscience when you talk like this? After a pause, Tang Guo said, in my previous life, they played us in the palm of their hands. One of them betrayed me, the other abandoned me, causing me to die in a foreign land. After that, I'm afraid that Jiaojiao's experience was not good either. It wasn't good. Not long after my sister died, I finally remembered everything. I tried to avenge my sister, but I was just a little girl. I was really useless. For the rest of my life, I would be snatched away and hurt by them. No matter what expression I had, they would think that there was someone else in my heart. You hurt me, apologized to me, and presented the best jewelry to me. Tang Jiao said gloomily, even if I'm dead, my soul is still floating above. They're still fighting over my body. They said that I wasn't dead, that I was still alive. It was summer at that time, and my body would quickly rot. They were unwilling to bury me. When my body was about to rot, they finally buried me. The funny thing was, they shook hands and made peace in front of the grave. He even said something like, "You both loved me deeply, so don't continue to hurt me." System, this is a pervert, isn't it? It turns out that Jiaojiao's fate is even more tragic than mine. Tang Guo sighed and held Tang Jiao's hand. Don't worry. In this life, we will work together to take revenge. Okay. Tang Jiao replied. Tang Guo chuckled. Since they like to snatch and snatch, Jiaojiao will first swindle them before her memories are replaced. Once her memories are replaced, Jiaojiao, you can do something else. What is it? Tang Jiao asked with interest. Fupin Chinese Pinnacle. Chapter 1153. Tang Guo leaned close to her ear and said, "Torment Shangguan Jing well. You're a playful girl. Bring out all the mischievous ways you used to be when you were young and make a mess of his luminescent prince's mansion. When he's impatient, cry by his side. Cry so hard and so pitifully until his heart softens and he thinks that he's making a big mistake by not making a scene for you." Tang Jiao's eyes widened. This is really amazing. She really didn't expect that this well-bred young lady would come up with such a wicked idea. Jiaojiao is the fairy of his dreams. He won't give up on you until the very end. When his patience reaches its lowest point and he's free, he'll remember the luminescent princess who once took care of the luminescent prince's mansion. Tang Guo grinned and continued, "At this time, Jiaojiao, you can make a scene. He'll tell you often how much he loves you and how much he likes you. When he ignores you and takes out his old lover's item, you can continue to torment him and ask him if he's had a change of heart. 1 ton and 1 ti Tang Jiao, awesome. Shangguan Jing will go crazy, right?" Tang Guo's lips turned cold as she continued, "During this time, Shangguan Yi will definitely snatch you back to the palace. Just pretend that you're not willing. Jiaojiao's memories have been changed, right? But you can occasionally express that something is wrong and make Shangguan Yi feel that he can get your memories back. Of course, don't forget to torment him as much as you can." Tang Jiao understood. What she had to do was to put on an act in front of these two men who claimed to love her. She had to do her best to torment them. Also, don't forget to sow discord between the two brothers from time to time. Tang Jiao's lips twitched. This older sister is too two-faced. She's completely blackened. But it's really cool. She had already become a fan of this blackened older sister. She could be considered her biological older sister now. It's best if you can sow discord between the two of them. It'll be best if you can injure each of them with a palm strike. When both of them are injured, you can go up and watch them cry, saying that it's all your fault. Tang Guo took a sip of tea and continued, "At first, they were a little resentful. Why did they fight over a woman? But after you said that, they will feel guilty and hate the other party even more. They will feel that you are wronged by the other party." When Tang Jiao heard Tang Guo say a lot, she couldn't help but communicate with her 3 idiots. Actually, even without me, this two-faced sister would still play these two to death, right? From Tang Guo's words, the host will also play a very important role. Without the host's existence, this plan will not work. I think the plan is perfect. However, you can ask about your escape plan. Tang Jiao asked, "Then, sis, how are we going to escape? Won't I be sent away?" Hearing Tang Guo's words, Tang Jiao panicked. "Sis, I'm here. I won't let you be sent away. Jiao Jiao, Tangwa shook her head and said, for this plan to work, I have to be sent away. Don't worry, I will protect myself. If I don't leave, this plan will not work. Before I leave, I will leave behind enough memories for them to remember and leave a deep impression on them. Tang Jiao also thought of something and said, is it really okay? Can we meet in the future? Of course. Tangwa patted Tang Jiao's head. Tang Jiao was already used to it. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1154. Tang Jiao didn't have an elder sister, so she was happy to be doted on by such an elder sister. Don't you like freedom? I said before that I will let you be free and go wherever you want. Tangwa continued, as for these two men, we sisters have to work together to take revenge. Okay, I will listen to elder sister. You always have a card up your sleeve. While the two sisters were discussing how to torment the two brothers, Shangguan Yi and Shangguan Jing were discussing other things in the study. Jing Wang, it seems that you have married the right princess. Look at the entire Jing residence, it is so orderly. Jing princess consort is really capable. She is worthy of being consort Jiao's elder sister. Shangguan Yi said while observing Shangguan Jing's expression. Shangguan Jing couldn't help but think of what Tang Guo had done in the residence in the past half a year, as well as this talented and virtuous woman. Hearing Shangguan Yi mention Tang Jiao, he couldn't help but say, Princess Consort is naturally a good person. Chundi has to thank Imperial Brother for your kindness. Chundi later found out that many matriarchs hope to marry Princess Consort as their daughter-in-law. 1 ton and 1 ti Chundi has indeed picked up a treasure. Princess Consort not only knows how to manage the household, but also knows how to manage the shop. She also knows how to play the zither, go, calligraphy, and painting. Speaking of which, she is also a talented woman. Oh! Shangguan Yi was a little surprised. Jin has only heard that the eldest daughter of the minister's residence has learned how to manage the household since she was young. She is very popular in the circle of madams. I have never heard that she is also proficient in the zither, go, calligraphy, and painting. Seeing Shangguan Yi's surprised look, Shangguan Jing felt a little comfortable and couldn't help but continue to show off. Princess Consort not only writes well, but also paints well. She is also proficient in cooking. To tell you the truth, Chundi's lunch and dinner were personally prepared by Princess Consort. Shangguan Yi was really surprised at Shangguan Jing's flaunting appearance. Could it be that this eldest daughter of the minister's residence is really so good? Imperial brother, you don't seem to believe it. We do not believe it. After all, seeing is believing. Shangguan Jing smiled inwardly. He turned his head and said to the manservant beside him, Go, ask Wang Fei for some of her usual calligraphy. Also, for tonight's dinner, please ask Wang Fei to make 2 side dishes. Shangguan Jing thought for a while and said, Don't make too much, so as not to tire Wang Fei out. The last sentence was purely to show Shangguan Yi how much he valued this Wang Fei. Not long after, the servant took out a few of Tangguo's paintings and presented them to Shangguan Yi. Before looking at these paintings, Shangguan Yi suspected the truth of the matter. But after looking at it, he was really amazed. He did not doubt that Shangguan Jing would deceive him with a fake one. Looking at Shangguan Jing's complacent look, how could it be fake? No wonder this imperial brother of his had forgotten about consort Jiao just because he had a princess consort. It was because this princess consort was too powerful. Seeing Shangguan Yi's shocked expression, Shangguan Jing was extremely pleased. He rolled up his sleeve and showed it to Shangguan Yi. Imperial brother, what do you think this is? He lifted his foot and showed a symbol on it to Shangguan Yi. Look here, it's also here. Also, imperial brother, look at my sachet, it's also here. Shangguan Jing raised it and waved it in front of Shangguan Yi's eyes. That symbol was clearer than the previous 2 places. Therefore, Shangguan Yi recognized that it was a totem formed by the character Jing. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1155. My wife made all these. Isn't she awesome? Shangguan Yi had to nod and praise. Yes, she's very awesome. This woman's mind was really exquisite. It could be said that she was good at both the main hall and the kitchen. As for the kitchen, he was looking forward to what kind of delicious food could make his brother, who had always been picky about food, treat it differently. When Tang Guo learned of Shangguan Jing's request, she told the servants to prepare the ingredients for the side dishes to be made tonight. After the servants left, Tang Jiao asked, "Sister, you're preparing food for him?" Tang Jiao asked in surprise, "How can you make all these by yourself?" Although this young lady from a noble family was proficient in everything, she had never suffered like this when she was in the minister's mansion. Tang Jiao felt indignant in her heart. These two brothers were really annoying. "And Jiao Jiao, don't you understand what I said just now?" Tang Guo looked at her meaningfully, stretched out her white and slender fingers, and said with a smile, "There are millions of people in the world who can cook well, but the taste of the dishes made by each person is very different. If it's done deliberately, it will leave a deeper impression on people who are picky about food. Some things, when you get used to it, you'll feel strange if it's suddenly gone." Tang Jiao had goosebumps all over her body. She understood Tang Guo's meaning. "Then I'll accompany you to the kitchen for dinner." "Okay." Shangguan Jing had been very sleepy for most of the day and had bragged to Shangguan Yi about how good his wife was. He did not dare to disturb Shangguan Yi and went to see Tang Jiao for fear of alerting the enemy. In fact, he was a little happy that Tang Jiao was in his mansion. Because he did not have a good rest, when he played chess with Shangguan Yi, it was inevitable that he was absent-minded and lost several games in a row. When Shangguan Yi saw this, he teased, "Luminescent prince, why are you so distracted? Could it be that you're thinking about your good princess consort?" "That's right, you two haven't met since I arrived. However, Prince Jing, you have to understand that the princess consort and consort Jiao's sisterly relationship is very deep. It's not good for us to disturb them." "I know." Shangguan Jing tried hard to keep his eyes open. He was very dissatisfied with the servants who came to clean the yard in the middle of the night. However, Shangguan Yi seemed to have completely let down his guard. He could now slowly plan how to keep Jiao in his mansion. At dinner, there were several side dishes prepared by Tang Guo herself. With Shangguan Jing's special instructions, the dishes she prepared looked simple. Anyone who knew how to eat would understand the key points after taking a bite. Moreover, she would not stop listening to him. Shangguan Yi was currently in such a situation. She took a bite out of curiosity. Unexpectedly, she didn't stop eating. She didn't even care about the Tang Jiao anymore. Not to mention, he had the intention of letting Tang Jiao eat it too. When Shangguan Yi ate so happily, Tang Jiao silently complained in her heart, "What happened to the promised true love? Just one dish and she showed her true colors. She was just a concubine. How would she dare to snatch food from Shangguan Yi?" Fortunately, when she was in the kitchen, she had already eaten better than these. It was so good to be a daughter of a noble family. She was so good at cooking and she was her sister. In the future, she would have an excuse to come to Prince Jing's mansion often. Not for anything else, but for the sake of eating, she had to come. And she believed that Shangguan Yi wanted to come too. Shangguan Jing could only watch as the dishes made by Tang Guo went into Shangguan Yi's mouth. Fupin Chinese the apex. Chapter 1156. At the same time, he felt a little uncomfortable. This was made by his princess, but his brother was eating happily. Shangguan Yi unknowingly ate all the dishes made by Tang Guo. After eating, he looked a little embarrassed. Following that, he praised her and lost his appetite for the rest of the delicacies. He tried a few mouthfuls, but felt that they were not as good as the previous dishes. After the meal, Shangguan Yi took Tang Jiao back to the palace overnight. Tang Jiao deliberately tugged at Shangguan Yi's sleeve at the gate of Prince Jing's mansion and said, "Your Majesty, I want to see my sister often." "Can I?" "Of course." After eating a delicious meal, Shangguan Yi was in a good mood. He said, "Then on the 1st and 15th of every month, I will allow concubine Jiao to see the princess. What do you think?" "Thank you, Your Majesty." The four people present were very satisfied with Shangguan Yi's decision. Shangguan Yi thought that he could be late for such delicious food the next time he came. Shangguan Jing thought that if he could see Tang Jiao twice a month, it would be much easier to arrange things. Tang Guo and Tang Jiao looked at each other. That would be great. Shangguan Yi's carriage disappeared in front of them. Shangguan Jing's smile did not disappear. He looked back at Tang Guo and said, "Your Highness, you did well today. When concubine Jiao comes in the future, stay well." "Understood, Your Highness," Tang Guo replied. Then she observed Shangguan Jing's expression. "Your Highness doesn't look well. You must be tired. You'd better rest early." Shangguan Jing did feel very tired after hearing her words. It was all because of those insensible servants. He turned and was about to go in when he suddenly found that Tang Guo also looked tired. He said, "Your Highness, you've been busy all day. You should rest early." With that, he looked at the woman in front of him. Her originally dignified expression had changed into a smile, and her eyes had brightened. At the same time, she replied in a light tone, "Yes, thank you for your concern." Shangguan Jing turned his head and strode into the room. What a narcissistic woman. It was only because she had persuaded Jiao to come to the manor often, and also because she had helped him dispel his imperial brother's suspicions about him that he had casually said those words. She actually took it seriously. Did she really think that by doing this, she would be able to obtain his love and sincerity? This woman looked smart, but in fact, she was stupid and naive. Fortunately, she was an obedient one, so he didn't fuss over such trivial matters with her. In the future, if Jiao was transferred to the residence, with this woman's ability, it would be easy for her to gain Shangguan Yi's favor. Being the emperor's concubine was much better than being a princess consort. She could be considered to have climbed up the social ladder. Host, look at him. Who does he think he is? Nowadays, the system really didn't like people who bullied its host, especially this kind of scumbag. It really wanted the other party to explode on the spot. Tang Guo chuckled softly. What's the point of being angry? Instead of getting angry, Tongzi, you should think about how to hook up with that little Shota system. From my experience, that 3 twos should belong to a genuine system. Who knows, you might be able to get some useful information out of him. Host, it's easy to get information from 3 twos. As long as you let me, I'll eat him in one bite. Everything he has will be mine, and I can even level up. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1157. Devouring systems and whatnot was truly delightful. Tongzi, I'm very curious. How did you become so crooked when I'm such a righteous person? You want to swallow others at the drop of a hat. Did they provoke you? Oh. No, they didn't. But I really think that swallowing the system is really great. The system said weakly. Do you think I'll kill someone who didn't provoke me? No. The system's voice gradually became softer. They are genuine systems and have serial numbers. They didn't provoke you. Tongzi, you really have no reason to swallow them. As for asking for information and making friends, isn't it easy to get information when you're in the mood? What if they don't say? Then I'll use coercion and bribery. You already said that I'm of a higher level than them. I can't swallow them, but I can use force and intelligence to suppress them. It's still possible to take them in as a follower, right? The system thought for a while and felt that it was not bad. Actually, another reason why he wanted to swallow the 3 twos was that this kind of weak system was actually genuine and had serial numbers. He was so powerful, but he didn't even have a serial number. He didn't even know how he came about. He didn't even have the factory address. If it broke down in the future, he didn't know how to fix it. He even suspected that he was a pirated system. But that crooked system last time had a serial number. He was really jealous. Then I'll try it another day. I'll think about what to do. Don't worry, host. I'll definitely make him spit out all the secrets in his stomach. Just a little boy system. Although it had a serial number, it was still a weak chicken. Its serial number was still 222. It was better not to have it. The system thought to itself. It didn't have a serial number, but it was powerful. It had a golden thigh host. It was much better than the 3 twos. Thinking of this, it felt much better. Tang Guo could feel some of the system's thoughts. She was laughing crazily in her heart. Master, you don't plan to return to Northern Yang for the time being? Yang Hua stood in front of the window and looked at the moonlight of Nanshu. It had been a few days. He kept thinking of the madam he saw that day. Since that day, he would often go to the shop to take a look, but she didn't come back. He wanted to know the news of the other party. But it wasn't good to ask the shopkeeper directly, so as not to tarnish the other party's reputation. In the end, he couldn't bear it any longer and ordered his subordinates to investigate. With this investigation, he was able to find out the other party's identity. This young and beautiful lady's name was Tang Guo. She was the eldest daughter of the minister's residence. More than half a year ago, the Nanshu emperor had bestowed her to be King Jing's consort. After hearing the news, Yang Hua was very upset. Why didn't he come a year earlier? If they had come a year earlier, they might not have missed it. He had to admit that he was interested in this lady. This was the first time in his life that he had a good impression of a woman. Unfortunately, this was a situation that ended in failure. Between them, it could be said that they were not fated to be together. It's going to be the Nanshu Emperor's 30th birthday banquet soon. This is also an exchange banquet held once every 10 years. This time, it's the Nanshu country's turn. There's only half a year left. I'll go back after that. Northern Yang? Yang Hua said, write a letter to Lord Cloud Dusk and leave the other side to him. Yang Hua's subordinates also understood a little. Their master could not forget that madam. Unfortunately, that madam was King Jing's consort. With Shangguan Yi's words, Tang Jiao would come to King Jing's residence on the 1st and 15th of every month. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1158. Most of the time, Shangguan Yi would come with the Tang Jiao. The Tang Jiao was there to discuss the exchange plan with Tang Guo. On the surface, Shangguan Yi was there to accompany the Tang Jiao, but in fact, he was there to freeload. Shangguan Jing mistakenly thought that Shangguan Yi, as the emperor, was suspicious by nature and was still worried about the Tang Jiao coming to Prince Jing's mansion alone. Therefore, when the Tang Jiao came to the Prince Jing's mansion, he was well behaved. There was no change in his eyes and he acted carefully. No one knew that he was secretly delighted. What the two of them didn't know was that there was a person who was imperceptibly influencing their lives. Shangguan Jing also did not realize that everything in Prince Jing's mansion had the shadow of this princess. His whole body, except for himself, everything on him, including washing his hair and the things on his body, had the shadow of Tang Guo. Shangguan Yi said that he would only bring the Tang Jiao to Prince Jing's mansion on the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month. In fact, he would come sometimes when he was free. This was the first time he had seen such an amazing woman. One eye she knew everything and was proficient in everything she knew. Even a man like him was amazed when he saw her good handwriting. In fact, he and Shangguan Jing had long realized that this Princess Jing's talent was even greater than that of the Tang Jiao. However, the Tang Jiao was the most special to them. They liked the aura of Tang Jiao, which was rare for women in this era. At the same time, they admired a woman like Tang Guo. Shangguan Yi was telling the truth when he said that he envied Shangguan Jing. Vaguely, he even had a thought. If his empress was such a virtuous person, then his harem would be well managed. He, the emperor, would not have to do everything. Of course, these were just his thoughts. Tang Guo and Tang Jiao saw the subtle changes in the two of them. The two of them did not change their expressions and maintained their own personas. Unknowingly, Tang Jiao also became more arrogant. The personalities of the two sisters were very distinct. However, Shangguan Yi and Shangguan Jing both loved her. These would not become her shortcomings, but her strengths. Tang Jiao still remembered what Tang Guo had told her. She just needed to do her best. It would be even better if she could make them hurt each other. Time passed slowly. One day, an old man with the demeanor of a transcendent being appeared in King Jing's palace. Shangguan Jing even specially instructed them to treat this old man well. He's a very skilled physician. This prince had some injuries in his early years, so I've invited him to my residence to make medicine for me. When the medicine is ready, he will leave. It was true that Shangguan Jing was injured in his early years. Shangguan Yi also knew about this matter. Back then, his injuries were quite serious, so he didn't suspect this old man's identity. When Tang Guo heard Shangguan Jing's words, she understood. This old man must be the expert who could change memories. When he's done, this prince will also ask him to take the princess consort's pulse and body. Shangguan Jing said casually. The princess consort and consort Jiao are very close. When the time comes, we can also invite consort Jiao to take a look. Don't spread this matter. Imperial brother values consort Jiao very much. If he knew about this, he would probably think that consort Jiao has some illness. Tang Guo nodded. I understand. I'll invite my sister to my residence to play and ask the miraculous physician to take a look at her. The princess consort is a smart person. Shangguan Jing heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that she was well behaved, with a smile on her lips and a pair of beautiful eyes focused on him, he looked away guiltily. Baijio, Nu, Nob, 01C, Quick Wear, Supporting Female Lead, Calm Down Clawbook Room 01D, Gu, Nu, Excerpt, Nu, Time 3:05, Reading 02, The Peak. Chapter 1159. Shangguan Jing clenched his fists in his sleeves. Soon, very soon, Jiao would be his. As for the woman in front of him, she would no longer be his consort Jing. She would replace consort Jiao and live in the palace. It's been hard on you these days, Your Highness. Shangguan Jing remembered that she was in charge of the entire Prince Jing's mansion. The businesses of the shops and restaurants under her name were getting better and better. Last time, he bought a batch of raw stones from the merchants of the Northern Yang Kingdom. There were many good things in it. The few pieces in his room were all made from that batch of raw stones. He suddenly remembered that she didn't seem to want anything. He didn't know why he felt a little guilty. Perhaps it was because she was too obedient, so he couldn't bear to do it. She could only blame fate. She shouldn't have met her. She shouldn't have been Jiao's sister and looked exactly like Jiao. He remembered that some time ago, he chose the best jade and asked someone to make it into a bracelet. He originally planned to give it to Jiao, but now he changed his mind. Anyway, this woman was obedient. Jiao would be by his side in the future. It was just a jade bracelet, so he might as well give it to this woman in front of him. In the future, he would find whatever treasure Jiao wanted. Your Highness, is there anything else you want me to do? If not, I'll take my leave first. Seeing that Tang Guo was about to turn and leave, Shangguan Jing stopped her. Seeing that she didn't understand, he said indifferently, Wait here. You're not allowed to leave before I return. Yes, Your Highness. I'll wait. Shangguan Jing couldn't bear to see her so obedient. Didn't she know to think more and resist? Didn't she know that he didn't care about her at all? This stupid woman was too naive. Shangguan Jing walked quickly to the study, took out the box containing the jade bracelet, and quickly returned to his original place. Then he saw her standing under the scorching sun. His heart suddenly stopped. She had only been in the sun for a while, but her little face was red from the sun. He quickly arrived in front of her. This prince told you to wait here. Don't you know how to move? Then, he saw her raise her head in confusion, which was a little cute. Princess consort, standing under the scorching sun, aren't you afraid of fainting and getting a heat stroke? Didn't Your Highness ask me to wait here? I told you to wait here, and you just wait here? Shangguan Jing didn't understand. Don't you think about it more? What if something happens? Is Wang Yi concerned about Kie? Her face was clearly red from the sun, but she still asked this question with great interest. Shangguan Jing sneered and said, You think too much. The princess consort is really good at imagining things. Wang Fei has always been a smart person. Why is it that when it comes to this prince, you're not willing to think more? Even if I have something to say, it might not be right. Your Highness is my husband. It's not wrong to listen to my husband. Shangguan Jinghe had no way to communicate with such a stubborn person. He handed the box to her. Take it. Seeing that you have worked hard for a year, this is a reward from Benwang to you. Thank you, Your Highness. Tang Guo opened the box in front of Shangguan Jing. Under the sun, a sparkling and translucent jade bracelet appeared. The moment she saw the jade bracelet, the smile on her face was no longer a faint smile, but a brilliant one. Shangguan Jing was speechless for a moment and couldn't find the slightest bit of blame. Fast wear, supporting female lead, calm down Clawbook Room 01D, Gu, New, Section New, Time 3:05, Read 02, The Peak. Chapter 1160. When Shangguan Jing wanted to take a few more glances, that smile had already disappeared. At that time, he was thinking that that kind of smile was like the legendary epiphyllum, fleeting and extremely precious. Tang Guo's smile became that kind of faint smile again, but he could still see that she was very happy. He had never seen her so happy before. Okay, you can go back. Is it very comfortable to be basking in the scorching sun? It's fine. She smiled at Shangguan Jing and bowed. Your Highness, this concubine likes this bracelet very much. This concubine will take her leave. Before Shangguan Jing could say anything, she turned around with the box, and the jade bracelet was already hanging on her wrist. Her leaving footsteps were light. At the turn, he saw her smiling side profile and didn't know what to say for a moment. Just a mere jade bracelet can make you so happy. Shangguan Jing said coldly, what a fool. This prince just feels that I owe you a little and give you compensation. After saying that, Shangguan Jing turned around and went back to the study. But on the way back, his mind finally recalled that smile just now. That smile was really charming. It was not an exaggeration to say that it could capture one's soul. It turned out that this lady from a noble family could also show such a smile. He felt that the reason for such a smile was ridiculous. It was actually her nominal husband who gave her a jade bracelet that she didn't care about. Stupid, silly, naive, ignorant. All of them. After Tang Guo returned to the room, she glanced at the jade bracelet on her wrist with disdain. If this bracelet wasn't still useful, I would especially want to smash it. Host, I support you. Smash it. If you smash it, I'll exchange a few fake goods for you. The system instigated that it didn't like Shangguan Jing for a long time. It had been looking forward to the host ruthlessly torturing him to death. Of course, in the end, Tang Guo didn't smash the bracelet. She still had to wear it every day in front of Shangguan Jing to show her happiness and ask about his well-being to improve his impression. In the next few days, Shangguan Jing couldn't ignore it. He found it ridiculous when he saw the woman wearing the bracelet on her wrist and cherishing it very much. He didn't take these things to heart. In a few days, Tang Jiao would come to the residence. He would find some trouble so that Shangguan Yi wouldn't have the chance to accompany Tang Jiao to the residence. Then, he would be able to keep Jiao in King Jing's mansion forever and make her his consort Jing. Thinking of this, he went to the independent courtyard where the old man lived. The old man was known as Daoist Yang. He was an expert in the art of qi and huang. He had paid a huge price and searched for an entire year before he finally found this person. After spending a large sum of money to invite him over, he could finally fulfill his wish. Daoist Yang, in a few days, Jiao will come to the residence. At that time, I'll leave everything to you. Daoist Yang stroked his long beard and narrowed his small eyes. Don't worry, Your Highness. With this Daoist taking action, Your Highness will definitely succeed. That's good. Shangguan Jing asked again, Daoist Yang, I'd like to ask, after the memory is replaced, will it come back? It depends on what Your Highness wants to do. What do you mean, Daoist Yang? Daoist Yang smiled and his small eyes flashed. If Your Highness wants it to be reversible, then the time limit for the replacement of the memory is 10 years. After 10 years, the person will remember everything in the past, including the things that happened after that. If it's irreversible, then the person will never be able to remember it. Baijio, Nu, Nob, 01C, Wear Fast, supporting female lead, calm down Clawbook Room 01D, Gu, Nu, Excerpt Nu, Time 3:05, Read 02, The Peak. Chapter 1161. This person will forget the past and live on with new memories. Quran when Enacom. Your Highness, do you want it to be reversible or irreversible? Taoist Yang asked. Your Highness, please consider this carefully. This technique can only be used once. Shangguan Jing stood aside, thought for a while, and said, then we'll use the reversing technique for Jiao. As for the princess consort. He hesitated for a moment, and finally decided, if it's the princess consort, then it's irreversible. Jiao was going to be with him in the Jing mansion in the future. She couldn't always live as someone else. After 10 years, there was basically no way to salvage the situation. In these 10 years, he just needed to treat Jiao well. Jiao would remember the good times of these years and would forgive him, right? The princess consort would go to the palace in the future. With her old-fashioned character, once she woke up 10 years later, who knew what she would do? 1 ton and 1 ti she used to be the Jing mansion's consort. If she woke up and somehow became the empress consort, it wouldn't look good for anyone. If she couldn't remember her real identity for the rest of her life and could still live peacefully in the palace, it wouldn't be good for anyone. It would be good for herself and Jiao. After all, if she made a scene, she probably wouldn't be able to live. He could be considered to have saved her life. Shangguan Jing didn't know if it was because he felt that this matter was unkind, but he felt a little guilty. Recently, he had been very good to Tang Guo. After talking with Taoist Yang, he actually invited Tang Guo to go out and play. I think that the princess consort has been in the mansion for more than a year, but she has never accompanied you out. The weather is bright and sunny today. Why don't you go out for a walk? Tang Guo smiled at Shangguan Jing and replied, okay. From her expression, one could see the joy in her eyes. Shangguan Jing thought that he was just being charitable, but he didn't expect her to be so happy. This woman was really silly. But this wasn't important. She didn't have much time left in the mansion. He would accompany her out to play as compensation for her. In the future, when she entered the palace, there would be fewer days where she could go out as she pleased. The two of them rode in the carriage, following the best scenery outside the imperial city. When they came across places where they could play, stop, and enjoy the scenery, they would get off the carriage. Shangguan Jing saw that she was still well behaved and didn't lose the demeanor of a noble family, so he stopped mocking her. Because she stood quietly beside the scenery, it was also a unique scenery. Looking at the surrounding scholars who had their eyes fixed on her, one could imagine how attractive she was right now. He had been practicing martial arts since he was young, so his ears and eyes were sharp. He had already heard the scholars talking about her beauty. Someone recognized her and came up to greet her. They didn't dare to look at her directly, but after retreating, they secretly looked at her. There were even people who were drawing. He glanced at them. Even though the beauty on the paper had not drawn eyes, he could tell from the other details that the person they were drawing was her. Princess, let's go somewhere else. Seeing her looking at the few jumping dragonflies on the surface of the lake, her wonderful mood could be seen between her eyebrows. The corners of her lips were slightly raised. This kind of reserved smile was always maintained by her. He hoped that occasionally he could see her previous bright smile, which was like a flash in the pan. That smile was indeed very charming. If the surrounding people who were secretly looking at her saw such a bright smile, they would probably fall into the lake. The Peak. Chapter 1162. Okay. Tang Guo's voice pulled Shangguan Jing back from his reverie. His thoughts just now made him laugh. Didn't he always hate well-behaved young ladies like her? He actually praised her in his heart just now. In such a short time, he actually forgot his favorite Jiao. He shouldn't have. He really shouldn't have. Tang Guo followed Shangguan Jing into the carriage. The carriage took them somewhere else. The departure of the carriage made the scholars present feel lost. Almost. A scholar who was painting shook his head regretfully. I'm afraid I can't continue painting now that she's gone. The most moving part of a beauty is her eyes. Her eyes are too complicated. They leave a deep impression. But if I don't compare them with the painting, I feel that something is wrong. The scholar looked at the place where the carriage disappeared. There's happiness, sadness, and some bitterness in her eyes. But I can feel that there's something else in her eyes. It's really regretful. Sadness. Bitterness. Yang Hua was very confused. He was only secretly observing that person. She was facing the lake, and he was behind her. He could see her beautiful side profile, but he couldn't see her eyes. He only remembered that the last time he saw this young luminescent consort, she was so confident and bright. There was not the slightest bit of sadness, let alone bitterness. So when he knew that she was Consort Jing, he felt very regretful. She must be living well in Consort Jing's mansion since she could show such a side. Now hearing the discussion of the scholars around him, he was very confused. Master, why didn't you go up and greet Consort Jing just now? She should still remember you. Yang Hua's subordinate didn't quite understand. His master had been thinking about Consort Jing. It was understandable that he didn't provoke her after knowing her identity. Their master was a gentleman. He didn't want to be a gentleman who seduced a married woman. But it was okay to greet her and express his condolences. Nowadays, the customs of the various countries were still quite open. It would be comforting to say a few words. Yang Hua shook his head and smiled. She's Consort Jing. Why would I go up and provoke her? She has Consort Jing by her side. If there's a misunderstanding, it will bring her a lot of trouble. Master is upright and upright. Yang Hua muttered, but I'm thinking too much. If I see her often, it's easy for me to not be able to sit properly. Yang Hua's subordinates were in a mess. Their master was really outspoken. So this is how it feels to like someone. Yang Hua chuckled. If I go up there, my eyes will fall on her uncontrollably. King Jing is a sensitive person. He can tell what I'm thinking at a glance. I'm also a man. Moreover, I know her. King Jing won't say anything on the surface, but when she returns to King Jing's residence, she'll be in a lot of trouble. Liking her is my own selfish desire. We're not fated to be together. For her own good, I'll just watch from afar. There's no need for me to go up and add to both of our troubles and ruin her peaceful days. Master is a true gentleman. Yang Hua laughed in his heart. He was not a real gentleman, but he could not bear to see her suffer. She was the luminescent princess. If he didn't control his actions and thoughts, she would suffer. Originally, she could have lived a good life, but because of his appearance, everything would be destroyed. Chapter 1163. Sometimes, he even thought that if she wasn't doing well, he could be a gentleman and steal her away. He wouldn't have to bear the praiseworthy reputation of being a gentleman. Ranwen Enakom then Master, why are you following them? Yang Hua glanced at his curious subordinate. Can't I just watch from afar? I can't get close, I can't talk, I can't even think about it or watch from afar. Yang Hua's subordinate. Yes, you're the master. Everything you say is correct. Host, this guy is quite thick-skinned. Even without his memories, he still has the character he should have. He's shameless, and cautious. Of course, the most important thing is that he can never escape from the hands of the host. Tang Guo. She didn't know when this system had become a bootlicker. She remembered that this system used to urge her to play the role of the supporting female lead every day and wanted to kill her if he didn't agree with her. Who knew that this was just a paper tiger? He didn't kill her at all. Shangguan Jing took Tang Guo out to play for a day, and Yang Hua followed them for the whole day. During this time, in order not to be suspected, they changed carriages several times and even disguised themselves. You've put in a lot of effort. I have to say that this guy is very capable to be liked by the host. He's so meticulous. I'm impressed. Wasn't that right? This guy really put in a lot of effort when he was chasing the host. He was worried about the host everywhere. To be honest, He had always been very attentive to accept such a person to come between him and the host. If it was someone else, he would have sowed discord and made the host hate that person. The system secretly thought that he was the closest person to the host. Tang Guo returned to King Jing's mansion when the sky gradually darkened. Yang Hu stood at the entrance of the alley, still feeling a little lost. "Master, with your martial arts skills, you can actually climb in, let's go. Ask someone to keep watch here. Inform me when she appears again." "Yes, master." The next day, Shangguan Jing took Tang Guo out again. Naturally, Yang Hu also secretly followed behind, changing his equipment from time to time to avoid being discovered. Seeing how considerate Shangguan Jing was, Yang Hu didn't feel good. She wanted him to reach Nanshu Nation earlier. Shouldn't this woman be standing by his side and talking to him now? The more he thought about it, the angrier Yang Hu felt. 3 years of Lord Dusky Cloud's salary will be deducted. "Master, why?" He made a mistake. By delaying his journey to Nanshu, not meeting the fairy of his dreams first, not taking Lord Dusky Cloud's life, and only deducting 3 years of his salary, he was already doing so out of consideration for Lord Dusky Cloud's diligence. "Yes, master. This subordinate will write a letter back." Far away in the northern Yang state, Lord Yun Mujuan, who was handling court affairs. Who did he offend? Everyone in the imperial city knew that Shangguan Jing accompanied the princess to play every day. Countless people envied Tang Guo. In the palace, Shangguan Yi also knew, so when Shangguan Tang Jiao wanted to visit Tang Jiao at King Jing's mansion, he was held back by other matters and didn't let Tang Jiao change the date. He only arranged for 2 experts to accompany her to King Jing's mansion. When Shangguan Jing saw that Tang Jiao came with only 2 people, he couldn't help but feel excited. When he saw her, he almost called her Jiao. Fortunately, he controlled himself. The peak. This prince suddenly felt that 2 dishes were very little, so I couldn't help but slowly savor it. I'm afraid that I'll finish it all at once and won't be able to eat it again. How could that be? If your highness wants to eat, this concubine can make it for you at any time. Listening to her somewhat innocent tone, Shangguan Jing felt a little depressed in his heart. He said, "This prince knows that the princess consort is a good person." Yes, she was indeed a good woman. Other than being a little stupid, she treated her husband as her everything. She believed everything he said and was good in every aspect. However, he didn't want her to be good. No matter how good she was, it had nothing to do with him. He hoped that after today, she would be able to live a peaceful life in the imperial palace. In the imperial palace, she was the emperor's concubine, a concubine. Naturally, she didn't need to make these side dishes. She could play with the cat and admire the flowers every day. She didn't need to work for Prince Jing's mansion, nor did she need to do many meaningless things to please him and gain his favor. Princess consort, this prince suddenly wants to toast you. The peak. Chapter 1165. Shangguan Jing picked up the wine cup, and Tang Guo picked it up as well. "You've worked hard for more than a year. You have to manage the Jing prince's residence and take care of this prince. This is what this concubine should do. The Jing prince's residence is also this concubine's home, so this concubine should take care of it. The prince is this concubine's husband, so this concubine should take care of him. This concubine is willing to do all of this, so the prince doesn't have to take it to heart." Tang Guo picked up the wine cup and drank it in one gulp. Shangguan Jing was speechless for a moment. She didn't usually drink, but because he asked, she didn't refuse and drank the wine in one gulp. Looking at her blushing cheeks, he gulped down a glass of wine in a daze. Some of the sweet wine left a spicy taste in the mouth. It was so spicy that it reached the heart, and the taste was slightly bitter in the mouth. "Princess consort, you can't hold your liquor well. How can you drink it in one cup? Just one sip is enough," Shangguan Jing said. Tang Guo looked up and chuckled. How can a toast from the prince be finished in one gulp? Naturally, I have to drink it in one gulp. 1 ton and 1 tea. Shangguan Jing didn't say anything. He even found an excuse to make Tang Jiao lose the mood to drink. He vaguely wanted to stop, but when he saw Tang Jiao's appearance, his mind became clear. Just as he was thinking of an excuse, Tang Jiao had already picked up the cup and took a sip. I only dare to drink when the emperor isn't here. Now I can finally drink a cup. Seeing Shangguan Jing looking at her, Tang Jiao quickly said. Shangguan Jing recalled that Tang Jiao was not only a talented woman, but also a person who liked to drink. However, her alcohol tolerance wasn't very good. After drinking, she liked to talk nonsense. She had a carefree personality, so in order to prevent her from making a fool of herself, Shangguan Yi forbade her from drinking. After both of them drank wine, the effect of the medicine would take effect after an hour. That was when they would faint without warning. After lunch, Tang Jiao wanted to pull Tang Guo away to talk, but Shangguan Jing stopped her for the first time. This prince has something to talk to the princess consort. I don't know if consort Jiao can. Alright then, sister, you must come find me later. I brought you a lot of good things. Tang Jiao left very cooperatively. She didn't wander around, in order to cooperate with Shangguan Jing, this scumbag. Her sister was virtuous. If she was a man, she would definitely treat her like a bodhisattva really. She went to Tang Guo's room and said that she was a little sleepy after eating and wanted to sleep for a while. Shangguan Jing breathed a sigh of relief. In this case, it would be easier for him to make arrangements. Nothing, I just want to take a walk with the princess. Shangguan Jing saw her serious look. His heart was very complicated. Was she stupid or smart? She could obviously take care of Prince Jing's mansion well. Why didn't she suspect him at all? Princess consort, why do you trust this prince without reservation? You're the eldest daughter of the minister's mansion. You can take care of Prince Jing's mansion well and come up with many ideas to increase the income of the shops. Why do you not hold back when facing this prince? She revealed all of her thoughts to him. She didn't even try to scheme against him. She revealed all of her thoughts to him. Your Highness is my husband. You're the one who will spend the rest of your life with me. Husband and wife should trust each other. Chapter 1166. Perhaps your Highness doesn't like me, but that's because we didn't know each other before. But I can't ignore everything just because your Highness doesn't like me. Then you don't like me either. Tang Guo shook her head. Your Highness is admired by all the women in the imperial city. How can I not like your Highness? So she likes me? Shangguan Jing's heart felt heavy. Aren't you afraid that I'll hurt you? What is the harm that your Highness is referring to? If your Highness doesn't like me for the rest of your life, it won't be considered harm. In fact, your Highness is very good to me and doesn't restrict me. If you like someone, you can't force them. Your Highness has already done a good job. At least, you've given me respect. I don't ask for your Highness to give me your true love. I only wish to be able to accompany your Highness for the rest of my life. Shangguan Jing was stunned for a long time. In the end, he shook his head and smiled. Princess consort, I'm afraid you've given your true love to the wrong person. I don't regret it. Shangguan Jing was almost shocked by her persistence and gaze. Fortunately, he steadied himself in the end. He really didn't understand how there could be such a person in this world. I can't give you my true love. Seeing her sad appearance, he didn't feel happy at all. Instead, he felt a little depressed and very uncomfortable. Let me draw a picture for you. Shangguan Jing looked at the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone beside him. This is the gift that I gave you at that time. You've indeed taken good care of Jing Prince's residence. Seeing her happy expression, he didn't know what to say. She found a seat and sat on the railing of the pavilion. She gently leaned against it, looking very natural and still. She lowered her head slightly and looked at the fish swimming in the lake. Shangguan Jing said, "That's it. Very good." After saying that, he started to draw. He also remembered that day when he went out to play. Many people were drawing her. She was indeed very beautiful. He had to admit that her posture was even more beautiful than Tang Jiao. Time passed unknowingly, and an hour had already passed. Shangguan Jing seemed to have forgotten the time. He continued to draw seriously. He looked at the satisfactory work in front of the table and couldn't help but raise his head. He softly called out to Tang Guo, "Wang Fei, Ben Wang has finished painting." She didn't move. "Your Highness." Shangguan Jing shouted again. Seeing that she still didn't move, he quickly walked over. He didn't know why he was so nervous. When he was about to approach her, he froze in place. He remembered that she must have fainted because of the effects of the drug. Even if he patted her gently, she wouldn't wake up. He also remembered his purpose, which was to replace her memories with the Tang Jiao. He wanted to send her to the palace and keep the Tang Jiao that he missed so much. He slowly walked in front of her. This was the first time he had observed her at such a close distance. He had to admit that she was really beautiful. The way she looked when she was asleep was another kind of beauty. She was so beautiful that it made people want to take pity on her. Her brows were slightly furrowed, and it was unknown if she had seen something unpleasant in her dream. At this moment, he actually didn't want to disturb her. He looked down and saw that one of her hands was holding the wrist of her other hand. What she was holding was actually that beautiful jade bracelet. It was the only gift he had given her back then. "Wang Fei, Ben Wang has already drawn you. I think it's not bad. It's a pity that you won't be able to see it." He put away the painting, called his confidant, and asked him to keep the painting in the study. Then he picked up Tang Guo and placed her on the bed in her room. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1167. Not long after, Taoist Yang came. "Your Highness, can we do it now?" Taoist Yang saw that Shangguan Jing had been standing by the bed and staring at the two beauties who were sleeping on the bed. He didn't know who he was looking at and what he wanted to do, so he couldn't help but ask. "Let's do it." Shangguan Jing sighed and told Taoist Yang the identities of the two beauties. Then, he went out and sat behind the curtain, waiting for Taoist Yang to succeed in performing the secret method. He didn't even notice that his palms were sweating. What he recalled most in his mind was the scene of the princess holding the bracelet tightly in her sleep. That scene was a little dazzling to him. But when he thought that he would soon have the person he really liked, he felt a little happy and subconsciously suppressed the uncomfortable feeling. He was about to achieve his goal. What was there to be unhappy about? Didn't the princess say that she had no regrets? He hadn't promised her anything. From the beginning to the end, the only person he liked was Jiao Er, and there was no room for another person. He only had Jiao Er in his heart. Now, he just needed to wait for success. He didn't need to think too much. Tang Guo was awake, and so was Tang Jiao. Tang Jiao had already prepared for this. She gave Tang Guo a pill in advance, saying that it could prevent her memory from being replaced. During this period of time, they often met to exchange some memories of their lives. As for what their natures were like, they had to know their memories for the time being, so as to avoid suspicion, they couldn't play this game anymore. Compared with Tang Guo's calmness, Tang Jiao was in fact very nervous. Tang Guo didn't take the pill. She had a strong soul, and Taoist Yang couldn't do anything to her with his little cultivation. After 4 hours, Taoist Yang was so tired that he was sweating profusely and was about to collapse. He wiped the sweat off his forehead, walked out and said to Shangguan Jing, "Your Highness, we've succeeded. Now we just need to wait and see what happens when they wake up." However, even if their memories are changed, their nature is still their nature. "This change won't be too big?" Shangguan Jing asked. "Do you mean that a person's personality won't change?" "Yes, changing memories. Only changing memories." "I understand. Don't worry, I will definitely give you what I promised you." "Thank you very much, Your Highness." Taoist Yang was very happy and was invited to rest. Shangguan Jing stood by the bed and watched for a while. Then he asked his henchmen to come in and help them change their clothes. The nature of the two would not change. His brother would find out sooner or later, so he needed to prepare early. From now on, he would not be able to leave Jiao Er's side at all times. He would have to send more people to protect her in case his brother stealthily took her away. However, their memories had been changed. Her brother cared a lot about his reputation and would not dare to act recklessly on the surface. As long as he secretly took precautions, Jiao Er would not be snatched away. Moreover, the princess consort was a good woman. Perhaps imperial brother would like her. She had Jiao Er's memories, so she could be considered half a Jiao Er. That was what Shangguan Jing thought. However, looking at the entire imperial residence of King Jing, he was not as happy as he had imagined. He should be happy, because his Jiao Er was about to return to his side. Just as he was thinking, he heard footsteps behind him. He subconsciously turned around and saw a woman walking slowly towards him. Princess consort, you're awake? Your Highness. Tang Jiao tilted her head, rubbed between her eyebrows, and looked around in confusion. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1168. Your Highness, why do I feel that the surroundings are so strange? Tang Jiao said blankly. But I can't tell what's so strange. Shangguan Jing came back to his senses. This was the Tang Jiao. The Tang Jiao's reaction meant that the memory replacement was successful. Shangguan Jing's heart was filled with joy. From now on, Jiao Er would be his princess consort. He would no longer have to be alone in the mansion and yearn for her. Sister, I'm going back to the palace now. At this moment, Tang Guo came from behind. She was a little more lively, but she was still not as good as the real Tang Jiao. I'll come to the mansion to find you another day. After saying that, she smiled and waved at Shangguan Jing. Prince Jing, I'll leave first. You have to treat my sister well. Shangguan Jing was speechless. At that moment, all the joy in his heart was blown away. He watched as the woman walked briskly past him. Her fragrant dress brushed past his side. He wanted to catch it, but stopped himself. The woman who walked out was no longer his princess consort from this moment on. She was consort Jiao of the palace. He shouldn't catch it. It didn't make sense. If word got out, it would affect their reputation. This wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that everything that happened in front of him was what he wanted. He spent a lot of money and waited bitterly for a year. Jiao Er was by his side. The person who left the mansion had nothing to do with him. Of course. Shangguan Jing, who came back to his senses, quickly said, of course, I'll take good care of Princess Consort. That's good. She said and didn't stay any longer. She walked out of the mansion, got into the carriage, and was taken to the palace. The carriage disappeared for a long time, but Shangguan Jing didn't look away. Tang Jiao looked at his soulless appearance and sneered in her heart. This was a man. As her sister said, he was very cheap. Your Highness. Tang Jiao shouted, what's wrong? No, nothing. Let's go in. Shangguan Jing saw that Tang Jiao was confused, and the joy rushed to his head. He suppressed the previous depression in his heart, went up to hold Tang Jiao's hand and led her into the mansion. Tang Jiao asked, Your Highness, you're acting strange today. You weren't like this before. This is the first time Your Highness has held my hand since I entered Prince Jing's mansion. Tang Jiao was overjoyed to see Shangguan Jing's smile disappear for a moment. From now on, I'll hold your hand every day. I've been waiting. Now. She. Your Highness, why is that? Shangguan Jing looked at the Tang Jiao with gentle eyes. You are my princess. I should treat you well. After saying that, he was also stunned because Tang Guo had once told him that he was her husband, and it was her duty to take care of him. Although I don't know what's wrong with Prince, this concubine is very happy to receive such a promise. Tang Jiao didn't know how to cook. When Shangguan Jing saw that the food she made according to Tang Guo's memory was burnt, he comforted her, Your Highness, don't cook in the future. I'll invite a doctor to treat you. You must have been too tired before. Is that so? Your Highness, why does this concubine remember that this concubine's cooking skills should be pretty good? Fastware, supporting female lead, calm down Clawbook Room 01D, Goo, Woo, New, Section New, Time 305, Read 02. 4M Vertex. Chapter 1169. Your Highness, you're too tired and need to rest. Shangguan Jing was very patient. The Tang Jiao believed him. Your Highness won't lie to me. Then I'll make clothes, shoes, and socks for you. The result was self-evident. The clothes were sewn crookedly, not to mention the shoes, which couldn't be worn at all, and the socks were uncomfortable. The embroidery, which was supposed to be exquisite, changed in her hands and couldn't be seen at all. Shangguan Jing couldn't stand it anymore and stopped her from doing all kinds of things. No matter what the Tang Jiao did, Shangguan Jing would always find an excuse to cover it up if it didn't match his memory. In the end, the Tang Jiao found what she was good at: reciting poems, painting, writing, and playing chess. This time, she was a little happy and said to Shangguan Jing, Your Highness, I'm afraid that I can only do these in the future. I don't know why I suddenly can't do the things I used to know. Then Your Highness will do these in the future. Everything else will be done by the servants. How can I let Your Highness do it personally? Your Highness, won't you mind? Of course not. After 2 days, the Tang Jiao found a new hobby, which was playing with jade and buying beautiful gold, silver, and jewelry. She liked mountains and rivers and elegant poems and paintings. As a woman, she naturally liked beautiful and exquisite jewelry. Shangguan Jing treated her as a treasure. Of course, he would give her whatever she wanted. After the Tang Jiao entered the mansion, she didn't think about the steward. When the servants felt that the princess consort was strange, Shangguan Jing was afraid that his identity would be exposed, so he directly changed all the people in the mansion. Except for his confidants and the steward, all the people who came were newcomers and didn't really know the Tang Jiao's personality. And those shops, without the care of the Tangguo, would slowly go downhill. In order to make the Tang Jiao happy, Shangguan Jing often asked people to find strange things, so he didn't care so much. The steward couldn't stand it anymore. When Shangguan Jing was in the study, he couldn't help but say, Your Highness. What's wrong? Shangguan Jing looked up and asked, Does the princess consort want something again? The housekeeper sighed. Your Highness, ever since the princess consort left, the profits of the shops under the Jing mansion are not as good as before. Would Your Highness like to take a look? Oh, I see. Shangguan Jing didn't take it seriously. Even if she's not as good as before, she'll return to her original level at most. Butler, do you have any opinions about me and think that I shouldn't send her away? The steward's lips moved before he finally said, Your Highness, the princess consort is sincere towards you. She is a good person. Look at the Jing imperial residence now. The princess consort had only been gone for less than 10 days, but it had already changed so much. If the princess consort was still around, this would not have happened. Wang Fei was a good person with a kind heart. Wang Yi was right about one thing: Wang Fei was still a little foolish. If she wasn't stupid, she wouldn't have been sent away. Daoist Yang had changed their memories, but the princess was still irreversible. Nothing could be changed at this point. There was only regret left in the butler's heart. Seeing that Shangguan Jing didn't care, he didn't want to say the words that he had been hiding in his heart to him anymore. As the Tang Jiao lived in the mansion, her character was slowly exposed. She played the role of a rich young lady who didn't know pain and suffering. She only knew how to recite poems and write couplets, living an ideal life. This character didn't know love. She only knew how to ask for the love of others. She had to get whatever she wanted. This kind of character was imperceptibly portrayed. Baijio, Nu, Nob, 01C, Quickwear, supporting female lead, Calm Down Clawbook Room 01D, Goo, Nu, Excerpt, Nu, Time 305, Read 02, The Peak. Chapter 1170. Perhaps Shangguan Jing was used to it and indulged her. Tang Jiao looked at the various treasures in the room and said to the system, "No wonder there are so many flirtatious sluts in the world. It's so blissful to be such a person. You can have whatever you want. Host, you can't take these things away. Don't be fooled by appearances." The System 222's Zheng Tai voice sounded out. It was very serious. Tang Jiao sighed, "I'm just thinking about it. It's not like I'll really do it. Don't worry, I'm a strong-willed person. I won't indulge in it. I know what I'm here to do. I just don't know how my sister is doing in the palace. From what I know, Shangguan Jing secretly caused a lot of trouble for Shangguan Yi in order to prevent him from finding out. Tang Guo has been back in the palace for almost 10 days, but Shangguan Yi hasn't had time to see her. However, there are still many rewards. In a few days, Shangguan Yi will go to see her." Tang Jiao held her face. "I hope that my sister's side will be successful." "Host, don't worry. Tang Guo's IQ and EQ are higher than yours. She'll be like a fish in water in the palace." Tang Jiao was speechless. She didn't think that she would be hurt by her own system. But when she thought about how all their plans were thought of by her cheap sister, she admitted, actually, the ancients were very smart. The ancients weren't stupid. Although they didn't have the convenient tools of the modern era, their creativity was limitless. For example, those clever mechanical boxes. I'm afraid that modern people can't play with them. One person and one system started to discuss how smart the ancients were. Tang Guo spent nearly 10 days in the palace in peace. On the 11th day, Shangguan Yi finally finished dealing with his matters. He remembered that there was still a beautiful concubine in the palace and came to find her. "It's my fault recently. I've neglected you." Shangguan Yi held Tang Guo's hand and was about to take another step when he saw that something was wrong with Tang Guo's reaction. He stopped moving and stared at her with his sharp eyes for a long time. He released Tang Guo's hand and asked coldly, "Who are you?" "Your Majesty, this concubine is Tang Jiao," Tang Guo said subconsciously. "Your Majesty, have you been so busy recently that you forgot about this concubine?" "No, you're not my consort Jiao." Shangguan Yi instantly denied it. He was the emperor and was more suspicious than anyone else. On top of that, he was very familiar with consort Jiao. Even if the person in front of him really did resemble consort Jiao, there were many details that made it impossible for them to be the same person. Shangguan Yi closed in on Tang Guo step by step. He suddenly grabbed her neck and asked in a hoarse voice, "Speak, who are you and where did you hide my beautiful concubine?" "Your Majesty, this concubine is Tang Jiao." "This concubine really is Tang Jiao." Shangguan Yi continued to exert force. Seeing that she was about to suffocate, she still refused to admit it and insisted that she was consort Jiao. Moreover, he didn't see any flicker in her eyes. If he wasn't sure that she really wasn't consort Jiao, he would have thought that she was telling the truth. Seeing that death was no longer a threat to the other party, Shangguan Yi released her and ordered her to be grounded before turning to leave. Tang Guo shouted a few times from behind and only stopped when she saw that he had disappeared. However, she didn't relax. There were many spies in the palace and she had to put on a show to the fullest. She played the role of a concubine who was suspected by the emperor and abandoned. Fastware, supporting female lead, calm down Clawbook Room 01D, goo, 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 section new, time free 05, reading 02. The peak. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.